his beliefs that the students learn best when they engage with others, share ideas, and construct knowledge together. So this is very important. Obviously, I said that humanists take into account the individualism learning, but I think that Rogers has the perspective that collaborative learning is a good way to learn, and I agree with him because sometimes when we share ideas with others, we can identify their beliefs and it creates our own ideas. Also, we have the empathy development, and is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And the perspective of Rogers is that is crucial for effective communication and personal growth, encouraging students to consider different perspectives, fostering empathy. So we we cannot work together if we don't have the empathy. It's very crucial to listen others and learn about them. Mhm. And then we have the emotional intelligence, and it refers to recognizing, understanding, and managing our emotions, as well as understanding and influencing the emotion of others. Mhm. And Rogers says that, or said that self awareness and the importance of knowledge and expressing the emotion authentically. And I think that this is very important, that we need to have our own ideas to express with others, and I think that that is one part of the emotional intelligence. And actually, we have the inclusive learning, inclusive community. What it means? Well, it means that in education ensures that all students feel valued, respected, and included, regardless of their background or abilities. And the perspective of Rogers, he advocated that for an educational environment where students feel safe to express themselves, an inclusive community aligns with his beliefs in creating a space where individuals can explore their unique identities and learn from each other. So I think these four paths of promote this, the social and emotional learning are very important because therefore are related each other. Mhm. Okay, and the following it's integrated humanistic approaches. For example, we have the holistic learning. Well, the holistic learning recognizes that education involves more than just academic knowledge. It encompasses the mind, body, emotion, and spirit. And the Royer perspective, well, Carl Rogers emphasizes that the whole person in education, holistic learning aligns with his beliefs, and students should be seen as unique individuals with diverse needs. So we have the ex- experiential activities, and it means that experiential learning involves and active participation. And the perspective of Rogers, he believed that learning is more effective when it is personal and meaningful. Um, so experimental activities allow students to connect the theories with practice. That is very useful for real life. And then we have the student empowerment. The definition is that it involves giving students the autonomy and agency to shape their learning experiences. And Rogers says that emphasizes self-direct learning, empowerment students take ownership of their education. So remember that integrating these humanistic approaches create a rich and meaningful um learning environment. where students thrive as whole individuals. Mhm. So we also have challenges and considerations in implementing humanism. So the first one is shifting mindset. The challenge is convincing educators and administrators and policy makers to adopt a holistic approach can be difficult. And the considerations are professional development, provide training and workshops to help educators understand the principles of humanism, and advocates for the evaluate of student-centered learning and holistic development. And changing mindset takes time and persistence is essential. Okay? And the second is resource constraints, and it limited resources, financial, technological, or personal, can hinder the implementation of humanistic practices. And the prioritizations are allocate resources strategically to areas that directly impact students' well-being and growth. Find innovative ways to create meaningful experience without excessive resources, and partner with community organization, business, and volunteers to supplement resources. And then we have the standardized testing pressures. For example, in this challenge is high stakes standardized tests often prioritize rote memorization and narrow skill sets. And this is not very useful to take into account a score, because we are just taking account memorization meanings, for example. And this is not a really good way to score your students, because you are going to create a different environment instead of create a comfortable environment for learning, no. While preparing students for tests, also emphasize critical thinking, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Mhm. So I think I'm going to explain my own perspective in L2 education, because as the L2 learning, I didn't find anything specific, but I would say that, for example, as a learner, I embrace a humanistic perspective in my journey toward mastering a second language that is English. And for example, I have to take into account the considering cultural immersion, the autonomous learning and interpersonal skills, the development through the lens or of Carl Rogers' thinking. For example, I think the first most important to take into account the ELSU learning is the cultural immersion, the autonomous learning, and the interpersonal skills development, because they are very important for learning another language that is English. For example, we have to be culturally immersed in this language, because obviously we need to take into account how they speak, how they live, to understand some cultural aspects of the language and so on. So I think the Carl Rogers thinking is very useful for the ELSU learning. Mhm. And I would say that for conclusion, embracing humanism in education, especially through the lens of Carl Rogers' perspective that I took into account this, open doors to a transformative learning experience by prioritizing the holistic development of individual humanistic approaches that advocates for student-centered learning and collaborative environments and emotional well-being. This philosophy resonates with Rogers' emphasis on personal growth, self-actualization, empathetic understanding, and so I like I really like the Roger's perspective in humanism because it's very useful, and I think for L2 learning more because as I said, we have to be very open mind to learn another culture, another language that is very important for our degree. So that's all, and I hope you like my presentation.